Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Welcome back to the Eden Ideal podcast. We're really glad you came. And as you can see, we're in a different location today, switching it up. But, we're committed to you guys. We're committed to bringing this to you. So welcome. Today we're continuing our food poverty series. Poverty series. It's okay. A few technical issues. We're going to delve deeper today into the biblical view on all of this. But before we get into it, just going to go around and say a quick hello, tell us your names, and then we'll do a recap of last episode, and then we'll get into a conversation. So,
Hello, I'm Tolu.
I'm Bim. Hi, guys.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Tade.
Okay.
Dwayne
And
doesn't
we've
have
got-
a mic today,
yeah.
but Dwayne's here too.
Dwayne is behind the camera. Hi,
That's why
Dwayne.
you can hear Dwayne.
So the last episode we did, Tolu very kindly summarized 5 practical ways that we can tackle food poverty. Do you just want to give a quick summary? So it was pray.
Okay.
One of them was pray.
Yeah. I think it was pray. Like,
Yep.
we should all just be praying about this.
Yeah.
Donate to charities tackling this global problem.
Yep.
Third one is thinking about your mindset and shifting your mindset. We really talked about food waste and kind of our personal behaviors towards food. The fourth one is actually going out in your local community and volunteering or donating financially or donating food. And then the fifth one is actually building community and making connections with people, because that's ultimately how you can really resolve this thing permanently.
Yeah.
So it's not just about a one-off food donation. That's for emergency. Really, you need to be making long-lasting relationships and supporting people through their situations.
Definitely. Thank you, Tolly. So on that note, we had said on the last episode that we challenge ourselves to connect with our local community, connect with our neighbors. And let's just touch base. How has everyone done with that? I will go first and say, to be honest, I haven't really done much, in all honesty. And I feel like I'm still breaking out of this mindset of it's just me in my home and everyone each for themselves. I'm still I'm a work in progress on that. But how has everyone else found it? Whether it's taking your neighbor's bin out or painting a rock was one of the activities.
Oh, wait. Those are nice. I haven't done anything.
To be fair,
Like-
I haven't
was-
done
I was
anything
in
either,
school last
but
week.
that's because I have something else that I'm trying to
Tolly
do.
has an announcement.
Not now. I'll bring it in
Oh,
later.
okay.
I'll bring it in later during this conversation. So
Can't wait
I
for this
focus.
announcement, by the
Honestly,
way.
It's not an announcement.
He's been
It's not actually,
teasing us for
teasing
that.
it.
no, it's
week.
not actually an
Oh,
announcement. It's just a simple thing that I think I can do
Okay.
to facilitate exactly what you just asked for. But I just, I need to work out the kinks with my wife. So that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
So not fully done the 31, but I have been actively thinking through one thing that I can do that I think will make a difference and connect with my neighbors.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
I think
Rachel?
I'm kind of with you, Bim. Is just getting myself into a mindset of breaking away from that. But also the last week I've actually realized that I've gone a whole week and not seen a single person that lives in my block. And that's not uncommon for me. So it's kind of really difficult to actually connect. I did bake some cookies. I gave them out to friends instead of my neighbor. But I thought, you know what? This is a good way to test and bake several cookies and make sure I'm not going to poison anyone of my neighbors. So it's a good trial run. Yeah.
Right.
I know my friends will be more forgiving than my neighbors. You get me?
I do think at some point we should circle back to this, because I don't think that the reason speaking of myself and maybe Tadeo, I definitely know, it's not because we didn't want to, it's just because life.
Yeah.
Life happens, yeah.
I agree.
Right? There's other things going on. And I think I think we need to have a conversation about how to kind of simplify life, because there will always be things going on, and there's specific scriptures that talk about how you need to actively push some of that down so that you. In fact, we talked about when Jesus was like, if you're not ready to hate mother, blah, 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 we said it was hyperbolic, but you do need to like put even your kids and your wife in a box to be able to step out and do some of this stuff. So
part of
it's
me
not
feels
easy.
like I'm actually invading someone's space by doing this. It's like I'm having to talk myself up almost to be like, hey, I want to help you. I think that's part of the problem.
That is part
I
of the
feel
problem.
like I'm intruding to an extent.
Oh, so when I said that is part of the problem, the part that I think is part of the problem is, hey, I want to help you. I think the first step is, hey, I want to know you. Hey, you might, hey, just hey, do you know what I mean? Because
Just
your neighbors
hey.
might not actually need any help, like.
Yeah.
But the point is making connections, and then through connections, someone might then be willing. I'm not gonna share with you my deep kind of issues if I don't know you. So I think the first step is just get to know people that you live around.
I did join my area Facebook.
Okay.
Sorry, I think it's so cheesy. It's so
What do you
cheesy.
do there? Do they sell
I just
stuff
see
there, or
them.
is it
They. I mean, last time I checked it, they did have. Sometimes people do ask. I did see that some people did ask. Oh, does anybody have a link for this or a link for that? But This is a part of me trying to embed myself in my new community. So I want to kind of just see, like, are there any events happening, or just things that I can try and be a part of there,
I like
just
that.
to
I like
yeah.
That's really top tip. Do you know that app Nextdoor?
next door does?
Yeah, I
really
don't know
good.
that app that well. Can you? I've
Just
heard of it, but I
Nextdoor
don't really know what it
Digest.
does.
Basically,
So,
I think like. Sorry, Con. I think you'll
It's
be.
basically a local community hub for like all things. If you have a local business or if something happened locally, you can post it there. It's like a Facebook but a localized.
a localized one.
So only people in your area will have access to that.
Cool.
They tell us about all the cars that are being stolen.
Yeah, no legit.
Yeah.
Cool.
I feel like I
Might
have
need to
this.
A lot of
download
people
this
use
app.
it just to report crime and to social
Really?
behavior.
Yeah.
I've done that
But
too.
it's good to know what's going on around, what streets to avoid.
Nextdoor neighborhood app. I have it, guys.
But no, I think
I
that app is
downloaded
really
it.
good.
Yeah.
Is it this one?
I'm going to be posting it in
Yes.
there.
Oh, it really annoys me.
It is annoying.
It's
I've
so
turned off
annoying.
notifications
Yeah.
because
Oh yeah, I
it
had to
is-
turn off
yeah.
notifications as
Oh,
well.
wow.
But
is that
sometimes it's
busy?
useful.
I just
Sometimes
get
it's
the
useful.
email summary now.
This is what happened in the week. Okay, cool. So moving on, I wanted to discuss today what we think the biblical. So obviously, you guys would have seen the strap line for the video. I'm hungry. Where is the church? But before we get into what we think the church's response should be and where they're standing in this is, I wanted us to discuss first of all what the biblical response to poverty is and where we stand in that respect. So open question to the floor. What do you guys think the biblical response to poverty should be? Don't
Okay.
all jump.
I mean, obviously we talked about this at Bible study, so I have a lot to say. But I don't want to like.
Well, I mean,
Context?
I believe that the biblical response is that we should help each other, right? There's a part in the Bible where God was giving his instructions to the Israelites, and he told them that they need to let the fruit, like, not to cut down, is it the edges of where they're growing, so that the sojourner can eat from there too, so that if we kind of just push that into everything, it's just, if you have excess, make it available for everybody, for whoever is hungry, or just basically open yourself up to being able to open yourself up to give to others, because there's always going to be somebody that has a need, and no matter how small it is, you're probably going to be able to help them with that too. How many times do we have extra? This is very random, right? But like, you might have like a bunch of bananas, right? And you have extra, and you can give some to somebody because you know what, I'm definitely not going to finish this, but you probably rather throw it away when it's already gone bad or something. But just the little bits that you have.
You weren't lying. That was random.
It was very random. I'm very sorry.
You have extra bananas
I
often?
have extra lemons at home.
Okay.
Very random. I'm very sorry. Sorry about that. But you got my point.
We got your
If you
point.
have
Got your point.
extra, share it.
Yes.
Yeah,
What if
yeah.
you don't have extra though?
I think that you. Okay, go on, Rachel. You were gonna say
No, no, no. Please continue. Please continue. I don't know what I was gonna say. I don't know.
What I guess that's
Even
part
if-
of the question. What if the challenge is, there are limited resources, but there are still people with.
I was gonna say
needs
Tolu
who
looks
want
like
to-
he wants to
It's true.
answer
Go on,
you.
Tolu. Go on,
Like,
Tolu.
so I think fundamentally we need to change our mindset and to one, particularly people who are operating in the kingdom. There is enough. That's the mindset, regardless of what you see in front of you. I definitely think fundamentally we should be adopting a mindset of there is enough, because that's I think something that if you look throughout the Bible, God is trying to kind of show people that even when the children of Israel were in the wilderness, you're in a wilderness, it's a desert, there's nothing there, but he was trying to show them, no, I if I'm with you, you have everything you need. There is enough. Even Jesus, when he was out with his disciples on the mountaintop speaking to 5,000 people, his disciples were like, no, we don't actually have enough. Send these people home. And he's like, when I'm with you, there is enough. Just step in faith. So I definitely think if you want to operate in kingdom, you should not have the mindset of there isn't enough, regardless of what you see with your eyes. Like, you need to open up your spiritual eyes and ears and see that there is enough, because that's how God created this world. That's Eden, and that's what we're trying to reclaim.
Can I ask a
Go ahead.
question? I don't know whether you're coming into the more practical part of this, but when I'm hearing what Tolu says, I'm saying that's all well and good, that's fine. But actually, more practically, if you are a mother or you're a household of 6 and you have 4 hungry kids to feed, what does that look like practically in today's world, where you can theorize and say this is what the Bible says of you should believe and have faith that you have enough, but what does that look like when you have 4 kids in front of you that are hungry?
I didn't say that you have enough. I said there is enough. So I think there is enough, but through our actions or inactions, we create scarcity. But there is enough. If we all changed our behaviors and the way we interact with each other, there is enough to go around. But we live in a fallen world. So I'm just trying to if the starting position is actually there is enough, if we did the right thing, I think that changes the way you tackle the problem. So I'm not trying to say that there isn't
Okay,
problem.
that's what I wanted to clarify, that
Yeah.
you're speaking in terms of ideals as
An
opposed to what's
ideal,
actually
yeah.
happening right now. in
not
the world.
even an ideal in the world right now.
No, I
No,
mean,
no,
but
no,
like if
but
we
the-
all did the things we were
Yes.
supposed to do.
Yeah, but I
think
just really
everybody
want to
would
make
have
it
every-
crystal clear. In London, there are thousands of people going hungry, but we waste more food than those thousands of people need. Do you know what I'm saying? So practically, there is enough. It's just the way our system is set up, we are not able to distribute that in an equitable way so that everybody eats. But right this second, there is enough food in production in the world, in London, in our borough, to feed everyone who's hungry. So it's not like a spiritual ideal thing. It's just literally the way we've set up our society means that it's based on who has money, who has that for you to access the food that's
I'm glad
available.
you clarified that, because it did sound very spiritual initially. But yeah, no, that makes more
No,
sense.
but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
We need to come into a reality. It's not a spiritual reality. I mean, it is, but this needs to be the reality that we all embrace. This is where your faith really stops being this mystical thing. It's actually I believe this. This is now my reality. So yeah.
Yeah, just going back to what you're saying about the problem comes with how we manage basically the resource and how we distribute it in basically an inequitable way. It reminded me of the scripture in Deuteronomy 15 that we were reading on Thursday, and I'll just read a bit of it. So Deuteronomy 15, I'm going to read from verse 1. It is a bit of a it's not lengthy, but I think it's good to get context. So it says, at the end of every 7 years, you must cancel debts. This is how it is to be done. Every creditor shall cancel any loan they have made to a fellow Israelite. They shall not require payment from anyone among their own people, because the Lord's time for cancelling debts has been proclaimed. You may require payment from a foreigner, but you must cancel any debt your fellow Israelite owes you. However, there need be no poor people among you, for in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess as your inheritance, he will richly bless you, if only you fully obey the Lord your God and are careful to follow all these commands I am giving you today. For the Lord your God will bless you as he has promised, and you will lend to many nations, but will borrow from none. You will rule over many nations, but none will rule over you. I'll stop there. You know, when we were discussing this on Thursday, and I was meditating on it since then, I was just thinking that I think God saying to them that every 7 years, all the debts must be cancelled, was a way for God to kind of like reset the playing field and like level it so that everyone's at the same place, everyone's on the same level, and there's no like poor gap disparity. And it just made me think, like, was that God's design all along, where there's no need for someone to be in need, because if you were really obeying his commands and doing things as he had designed, everyone's good, essentially. And in verse 4, I'll just read that again. It says, however, there need be no poor people among you, for in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess as your inheritance, he will richly bless you, if only you fully obey the Lord your God and are careful to follow all these commands I'm giving you today. So I was thinking, so does that mean that the reason that there are poor people amongst us is because of us not following God's commands in the first place?
100%.
Because
I believe
had
so.
we done that, like, God is a masterful, he's wise, he's all knowing, like he knew what he was doing when he set up that system. But because we didn't carefully follow his commandments, things didn't go as they should. And we have
100%.
some needy people, some more well-off people.
Yep.
The more I think about specifically food poverty, the more it's so irritating that this is even an issue. Like, this doesn't need to be a problem. It really doesn't. There is enough. Like, there are other issues that we should be like focusing on. If we were actually just very simply doing what God has asked, how God set this system meant to be up for, this would not be a problem. It's very easy. Like, I know it's like a very complex global issue, but actually it's very easy to fix the problem, at least in the short term. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just share, you know? Like, particularly in a space, in our context, we were in the UK, where it's a wealthy country. Like, there is enough. We have the capability of doing this. Like, in a place where there's like a drought or something, I get it. There's a different issue that you need to overcome. But why is this an issue in London? You know, like, for me, it's just like, this is pure down to human behavior. It's just down to our system is set up on greed or storing up treasures for yourself. That's literally how our system's set up, to the point where we would rather waste, as you talked about the bananas, than come up with an equitable way to share
and distribute. Yeah.
But it do you know what though? It's so crazy because it's greed and also partly a lack of trust too. Because it works on all levels. There was a time when restaurants would give the food that they had that was left. I've worked in the food industry before, and it hurt my heart how much food was wasted. I could not believe it. It was abysmal, like ridiculous. And people did used to give to people who were homeless, but then they'd sue.
The homeless people would
Some
sue.
people had sued. Some people, yeah, because if they could sue and say that they got food poisoning from the food that you gave them,
Homeless
or
people.
Oh,
Suing.
I mean, it's
I
happened.
mean,
Why
yeah,
not?
why not?
Why not? No win, no
Really?
fee. Why not?
Oh,
You
okay,
can.
right. What's talking with? Okay.
It's
Okay.
happened before where it has happened before. So maybe it's only happened a couple of times, but it was enough that
Yeah.
they like stopped, they put measures in place that you can't take food. Even some foods we weren't even allowed to take home because you could take once it's left the restaurant or the place, they can't account for how you're taking care of it at home, and then you now blame them. So obviously different businesses are different, but like it's a heart thing, isn't it? Everybody is just kind of out for their own thing.
I
Even
think you
people
hit
who
the
are
nail on the
hungry
head.
sometimes are out for their own thing. How can I make
Yeah.
this benefit me right now and get myself out of this situation?
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's
Trust,
quite crazy.
as you
yeah.
just said, trust is actually the main issue here. There is a reason why people like there's enough empty rooms in this country
Oh,
to house all the homeless people on the
oh
streets
my
right
god,
now.
it's ridiculous. That is
But-
also very crazy.
It's just a thing of, oh, trust. What if something happens? And the thing is, maybe I personally think it's I don't know the stats, but it's like very small minority where anything would ever happen. But things can happen. It's an open risk. But that's why I think specifically in the Bible, like Jesus specifically prepares us to take the L, like
Yeah.
to accept that can happen and not let that stop you from doing what you need to do. Like in that Deuteronomy, I don't know if you were going to go on to it, but like in that same Deuteronomy 15, if you keep reading downwards, and it's talking about kind of if your brother wants to kind of borrow money from you, and you think, oh, it's coming up to the time of the release, the 7-year release, I'm not going to give because I'm never going to get this back. Your heart might tell you, let me hold on to that. Let me not do that because I'm not going to get it back or something like that. Take the L. Don't let that stop you. And then Jesus ramps it up. Sorry, I hope I'm not covering ground. And then Jesus ramps it up. Like, you know, if someone's going to take a tunic from you, give them also your cloak. If someone can ask you to go a mile, go with them 2 miles. Like, I think the ethic of a Christian, we have to just recognize that people might take the mick, but that should never stop us from still doing what we need to do. But you're completely right. I think trust both ways. This is now a people thing. This is why I think actually this problem has nothing to do with food, and it just has to do with the
Us,
human
our
heart.
hearts. Yeah, it's our
Management.
hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I think the biblical response ideally is whatever that person chooses to do, whether they're wanting to defraud you or pull one over you, like that's between them and God. You know, as far as it lies with us, God expects us to be open-handed and to not turn away and not ignore those that are needy and poor. And I think it is a mind shift change, because I remember when I used to work near Oxford Circus, and there'll be some ladies that would, but you know, they'll be begging for money and whatnot. And my friend told me at that time that, oh no, don't give to them because they're lying. Like it's literally a job. It's a profession for them. Like they are okay. It's a profession for them. And at one point I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm not going to give to it. But then it was a hard check. I was like, do you know what? Even if they are trying to
Swindle
defraud me,
you.
that's between them and God. Because if in me withholding from them in that moment, I'm training myself to always like have a criteria in my head when someone does come up to me and try and like assess them based on I'm trying to assess them based on what I think you're going through when I don't know the full story. So yeah, like what you were saying, I think it's always our default response is to just always be open-handed.
And that has real ramifications, because like particularly like government sanctioned things and like big organizations, they have to follow all these things because someone might sue, someone might do that. And that means even when they start off with the best will in the world to try and help as many people as possible, because of all of these restrictions and blah, 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 sometimes it becomes so hard to access that help. Like I did an interview with Joanna Reed from the Bow Food Bank. Hopefully that should be landing soon. And like their food bank is very different from other food banks because they don't have a referral system. Like theirs is just turn up. If you want food, just turn up, queue up. If you're willing to come and do that, then you deserve to have the food. But for majority of other food banks, there's a massive like referral thing. It has to go through the council, blah blah blah. You need to have the tickets and so many people. Sometimes if your benefit payment is off that week, it means you can't get the things. So that was that video, the TED talk that I sent in the chat. I don't know if you guys managed to watch it. It'll be in the link below. But like it causes us not to be able to help people the way we would be able to help. Like Joanna said, like, you know, she was at a job center one time and she just thought to herself, like, the amount of money that we spend in just the administration alone,
Yeah.
like,
Talk about it.
is enough to like help so many people. So I do think that like us having that in the back of our heads
True.
kind of does cause a bit of that issue.
So I wanted to touch on so we've talked about the biblical response to poverty. I wanted to now shift the conversation to abundance, and I know we've touched on it slightly, but yeah, the view on like in this whole conversation, if we're saying that abundance, there's ample resource, and you know there's no lack essentially, then why do we think there is such a how do I put this? There's a hesitancy, should I say, especially with Christians, to be like so willing to be like, yeah, I'm gonna step in here and bridge this gap and solve this problem. Do we think that we have fully grasped that revelation of there is abundance, or are we still operating from scarcity mindset?
Definitely
I think,
operating from scarcity. Go on, Rachel.
Yeah, no, I think we definitely are for the most part. I think there's two things. Like the first being that we are definitely still operating in a mind frame of the potentially isn't enough. So therefore I need to hoard for my family, or I need to make sure my family's okay. Which isn't a bad, like you have to make sure that the people around you are fine, but to what extent do you believe that at what point is enough?
Or it's how do you make sure the people around you are fine?
Yeah.
Because I just think Jesus is not promising us. He is actually promising us the thing that we're after. He's saying, if you do this, and this is where you will get the abundance. You will have even more. So it's like the goal is the same. Like there's nothing wrong with wanting to provide for your family. That's a good thing. It's how do you want to provide? Do you trust how Jesus says to do it, or do you need to go and secure it your own way? That's the choice. That's the eating from the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. Do you want to rely on your own wisdom and your own bank account and your own skill sets and what you can tangibly do and your money? Or do you want to rely on Jesus? It says, actually, if you open your hand and give that away, I'll give you even more. That's the difficulty.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to seeing God as our source, as our father. You know, one example I used was, you know, if your child, like if Evia came to you and asked you for a drink and you gave it to her, she's not thinking, oh my gosh, how's my dad going to raise the funds to get this drink? How's he going to provide this drink for me? Like, she's good. She knows she's asked her father for a drink and she knows it's going to come. She doesn't know how it's going to come to her, but she knows it's going to come because she just has this innate trust that her dad's going to come through. And I think as Christians, sometimes we overthink things and sometimes we become too mature to our own detriment, and we stop relating to God as a father, trusting that he is our source. Because really and truly, if he's our source, if we know that everything that we have comes from him, then really and truly we will not have a problem when he says, okay, I want you to release this to this person, or I want you to give this to this person, because we know it's not ours. Like all we're doing is just stewarding, all we're doing is just managing the thing when we're not the source. we're not the people producing the thing that
Mm-hmm.
God has given to us.
Mm.
So I think that may contribute to why there's this hesitancy and this tension where it comes to giving and being generous and helping people, because we feel like, oh no, this is mine. Like, this is my hard-earned money, or I worked so hard for this, I'm hustling, and I can't just give it out because
you just think it's yours.
because it's
Yeah.
mine. Whereas if you think, no, this is like God gave it to me, and all I am is a conduit of his blessings and his favor, then it's not a thing if he asks me. And it really is like, I don't want to come on here and sound like I've got it all together, because trust me, I don't. But it sounds simple, but in
It's
actuality,
it's actually not.
No, it's not
and
simple at
and
all.
I think
It's
just to add
not.
to like what you just said, that like in getting to the point where we aren't trusting in God, we then go out to try and make these things happen ourselves. And that's what, like, I understand we all need to work. I'm not by any means saying we don't need to work, but it's that constant grafting to try and get this thing for ourselves, to get to a point where we are okay. We're not trusting God in that moment sometimes, and then we forget to actually do the thing that God has asked us to do, in terms of like actually making sure that everyone else around you is okay, because we're so focused on working to provide for ourselves. So I think that's just like another point in that we kind of lose focus of God in those moments.
Yeah,
Can we
I
just-
mean,
oh, so go on.
I was just gonna say that it is hard, right? And if it was hard for those who were literally with God, with Jesus, saw his hand move, saw him like literally saw what he could do, and still questioned. The disciples had already, by the time they got to the 2 fish and the 5 loaves of bread, right way around?
Yeah.
Had to make sure, man. But by the time they got to there,
Wait,
they had
was it
already.
5 loaves and 2 fish?
That's what she said.
That's what I said.
Oh, sorry.
That's what I said. By the time they got there, they already knew that, like, they had already seen Jesus work, but they still were like, what are we gonna look at all these people? How are we
Yeah.
gonna feed them? Like, bro,
That's so true.
you didn't see me do all this before?
Jesus must
you
have
know-
been so tired of them.
Honestly, you know,
He-
just
he-
like God was tired of
y'all.
honestly, God was tired of the Israelites.
Yeah.
Like, I sent manna. You guys are asking me about meat. Like,
yeah, for real.
do you not know what I can do? But it is difficult for us, but that is the place that we need to get to, you know? It is
Although the
also-
apostles did do it eventually.
Oh, eventually, yeah, but it's a process. I'm just trying to say that, you know, we should understand that, you know, those in the Bible, they're not so different to you and I, right? Like look
true.
at them and look at the journey that they made. They eventually got there, right? But that's us working, you know. That's why those stories are there. That's why we learn about them, is so that we can understand that, yeah, it's difficult, but you can get there, you know. The verse about the question that you asked as well, actually, about why is it so difficult, is, yeah, we find it difficult to relinquish that control as well, you know. Being like a bird that doesn't think about where it's gonna eat is hard, man. Like, to relinquish, like saying, oh, do you know what, if I'm gonna be good, even just driving here today, y'all.
You drove on
You
faith.
drove.
Yeah, but no,
Oh, but you're here.
I'm here, thank God, right? But the whole journey, every red light, like, I should have just been driving and just been like, I'm good. Do you know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't have worried at every red light, at every little traffic, at every little roundabout. Like, I should have just been like, whatever happens is gonna be okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that should have been my stance. I know this, but
It's a
and I kept, it was a
difficult place to
battle
be.
in my head. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, God. Like, I know, but you know.
Can we make this a bit more like practical, because I'm worried that like it's straying into the purely supernatural God will provide territory, which is also true. Like, at the end of the day, Jesus did miraculously feed 5,000 people, but actually you see that his disciples were able to feed loads of people as well. But the way they did that was just by sharing resources. And there was no one in their midst that had a need for anything in Acts chapter 2. Like, so I think we are now the body of Christ, his hands and feet. You know, I think there is an element of Jesus just doing something miraculous, but actually you driving, if we were all operating as the body of Christ, you should also have faith that any of this traffic lights, if I stop, my neighbor over there can come and support me and help me. I'm not at risk. There is no issue here. That would also give you peace of mind. Just so I think that there is a very practical element to this as well, that if we are actually behaving like Jesus, we don't necessarily, like, I think that's a miracle in and of itself. If you have a community of people that are genuinely there for each other, you will also have the same outcome of no one having any worries or having anything. It doesn't need to be like manna from heaven. I think that's actually the new setup that Jesus has given us, and the way we need to be operating. Like, for me, it's actually practical. It works in a religious context now. Like, we all have insurance here, I'm sure, to a degree. Like, that's the framework for insurance. It's everybody puts money, a little amount every month, every year. And when someone has an accident or an issue, the pot is used to support that person. But hopefully that person doesn't have an issue all the time. Like, it's a system that we use in the world. Like, even getting married and having a partnership, it's so much easier when there's two salaries coming into the situation than just one salary doing thing. But imagine, and I know this happens in certain marriages, where you come into the marriage and you're not sharing your money. Like, my money is still my money. That is just foolishness. Like,
Well, I mean, some people do it.
I think it's foolishness, because you're not, like,
go cuss out everyone.
I think it's foolishness
I mean, I'm
from an
not on it,
economic
but yeah.
perspective. Like, you're not leveraging each other's potential. You're not like, you would get a better outcome for yourselves if you were willing to partner with each other. If this person loses their job for 3 months, this other person will support you for a little bit. If this other person gets pregnant, this other person can support you for a little bit. Like, it just makes sense. Like, you get better outcomes from that. So I just think, for me, it's not actually difficult. It's in your best interest to operate like this. I think it's just greed that gets in the way sometimes, where it's just, because if you actually thought about it, I actually think you could come up with an argument that says, if we did this, we would all have more than if we were hoarding. Like, even if you wanted to just have as much as you want, I just think it's a flawed route based on human greed and stupidity sometimes. To be honest, like, the more I just think about it, it just doesn't make sense. Like, this is
So there's
something
some
that's
families that you're not talking about, the families who one partner doesn't work, right? 'Cause there's some families that
No, I think he's talking about.
you're only talking about both
incomes
earn income.
and
no, in that situation, you're doing it. The one partner's not working and the other partner's supporting that partner.
Yes.
That's
Okay,
the
sharing like that.
That's
I
the
get what you're
sharing. And
saying.
the,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
other
yeah,
partner,
yeah.
I'm sure, is contributing
Just wanted
in
to
a different
clarify.
way. No, like, that's the
I
point
get it.
of coming
Yes,
together and sharing resources. But
Yes.
sometimes we come together and we still don't share.
Yeah.
That's the way we
Yeah,
operate.
yeah.
And I think that's the way we operate in our churches.
Okay.
We come
I'm
together
glad you said it.
and we're still
Where we're going.
not sharing, because
Yeah.
I really, sorry if we're going there,
We're
but
going there.
I'll wait. I just think, I really do think that if there is still a church in the UK, at least, that there are people who have wonderful, amazing cars and stuff, and there's people that are hungry.
Something's wrong.
Something is seriously wrong.
Yeah,
in that
100%.
church, because you can
agree.
solve that problem
100%.
overnight. Isn't that should not be an issue in a church?
Mm.
And we have a model. Do we think that the early apostles were rich and richer than the rest of us? No, half of them were probably like slaves and and all that stuff. But it says no one lacked for anything. Everyone's need was met. So if they could do it, what makes us think now that in our advanced world and all that stuff, it's purely because we are not operating under the system of Jesus. We're not operating under the kingdom system. We're operating under the system of the world. We're doing it the way the world does it.
Do you think that's because we're not all in? We are in the kingdom, right? But we are living in the world. So you see how you said if everybody were to be operating in this way, I, for example, wouldn't worry if my car were to break down because somebody would help me, right? But I guess, as Rachel said before, you said something. You said, "Oh, you're talking about the ideal," and then you said, "Well, it's not the ideal. It's not an ideal because we can do it, but it kind of is an ideal because everybody isn't." Like, in an ideal world, everybody would be living like this, and everybody like this would be the case, isn't it? So,
but I feel like the church should be like little.
yeah, it
cosmos
should
of
be.
that.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I was
that's
gonna
what
say.
we should
The-
be seeing in the church.
Oh,
Forget what's going
100%.
No, I
on
can't talk about the
outside.
world.
yeah, the
I'm-
church should be little pots of literally what was happening in Acts.
Chapter
That should
2.
be what the church is doing.
100%.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm sure there's
totally
some
agree.
churches that are
Yeah.
doing it.
Yes,
I'm sure that there are a lot of
there
churches that are modeling this and doing it really well.
but the majority,
Majority, like
is
from I want to tell you guys a story that just breaks that. It was one of my aunties was just telling me about. This was in Nigeria, and there was kids in this coming to this church from the neighborhood, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old kids living in cars, like broken down cars. They used to, you know how there's just like some street kids in Nigeria, like they support the mechanics in the local area. So that's the level of poverty that's in this space. And you're inviting these kids in, and you would have there's people in the church that have a lot. There's millionaires in the church in that same church. But what is the focus of that church in terms of where they funnel the money? They want to build a massive church complex. And that's where, like, when they say, where's all the money or what the donations, blah, 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 to the extent that, like, what people will ask, like, where is the tithes? What are we doing with the tithes? And it's like, we're building this. Oh, we want to expand this. When you build it in the current complex, it's not even at capacity, but they're like, if you build it, they'll come. Those kind of things. And it's like, where is the priority? How have we
That's the
lost
problem.
our
That's the problem.
priorities? That this is the and it sounds good to them because it sounds like if we build it, we'll get more people into the kingdom. It's
You're
like,
not helping them.
but the people that are in
Meeting
front
the
of you,
needs.
that
Yeah.
you could genuinely, like, 9-year-old, 10-year-old little boys that are hungry. Like, it went to the extent of even welfare donations that were given were channeled towards the building instead
Wow.
of towards that. Like, I'm just saying, like, that's the state of Christianity in certain, and people don't see that as a problem. People don't challenge that. Like, what else should our tithes be used for? If you actually look at what the
That's
tithes,
what
were,
tithes
used
were used for in
back
the
in the
Bible.
day,
Yeah,
it was to
yeah.
support the widows, the
Yeah.
orphans. It was to support. It was
That's what
also
it was
to support
for.
the Levites. It was support. Like, when they went and gave a sacrifice, that was actually a big feast. It's only like parts of the meat that were burnt up. The rest of it, you're meant to invite your neighbors to your house and you have a massive feast. So, like, even fundamentally, biblically, there's no way you can read into this and think anything different. But for how we are operating in churches today, where you have these other priorities, like, if there's a church that is prioritizing building fund over hungry people in this church,
We've got it wrong, haven't we?
they've got it wrong. They
Oh,
really
very,
have.
very,
So-
very wrong.
So then my question becomes, how do we change that reality? How do we shift the church priority from probably like administration, like the word you used earlier, to meeting needs? What needs to happen for that shift to take place? Is it that every church must have, a separate fund that goes specifically towards those that are hungry, poor, homeless? Is it that every church must be connected to their community in some way or form? Like, what is the answer to this? Because I don't see churches shutting down completely and just going all into. Or question is that what the churches should we not have? Buildings that we meet in? Should we not have online services? Like, what is the practical
Do you know what I think the first problem?
solution?
And I've been part of this issue as well. The first problem is not even knowing the needs of the people in your church. Like we
I think
created,
before that is even wanting to know.
yeah.
Mm.
But like, let's assume you
some
even
hearts aren't even.
have the right heart and you want to do it. I feel like because this was I think I've mentioned this a few times. This was what hit me at COVID. You know, and I was thinking when COVID first hit, I was thinking, I don't even know who in church actually is in need right now that I can go and support them. Like, how do I even not understand what's happening with my community? And there were very vulnerable people. It's not even because like everyone was well off. There were very vulnerable people in our church, and I just was oblivious to it. So like, put my hand up. Part of the problem. I think we need to have systems in place, whether it's like confidential conversations, it can't all just channel through the pastor. I think that's what everyone assumes, that the pastor must know, or like, I don't know. Like, we need to come up with systems where people's needs are apparent to the whole congregation. Like, I think if you have that, did I talk to you guys about this guy I was following online, and he did this thing where in a local community, they would post needs on Twitter, and like, so I think they partner with like different charities, and they would
I
just
think he
post
did
the
say. Yeah.
need on Twitter, and he found that every need that they ever posted, within 5 minutes, it was met. So the issue isn't necessarily that people don't want to do it or people don't have the resources. Sometimes you just need a system that allows us to understand
That's good.
what's
yeah.
required, blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
I think that should be the first thing that we should all be going back to our churches and thinking, what do we need to put in place to allow us to know, not even the outside community, the people in these pews.
Yeah.
How do we understand where you guys are all at right now?
And I think that comes back to the individuals within the church. You know, at the end of the day, we are the church. We are each of our brothers' keepers. So, you know, there should be a level of transparency and vulnerability within the congregation. So like you said, it doesn't always have to be that the pastors are the ones meeting the needs or the ones that are coming to the rescue, so to speak. Like, that could be you in a conversation that you have with your fellow brother or sister, from you just connecting. You know, it's not just about coming to church and listening to the word and having a great worship session, but actually connecting with those that you commune with. That's where you get to, you know, hear what's going on in their lives, and you can start to see, okay, where can God use me to be an answered prayer to you. I think that's part of the solution as well, because sometimes we can be so, like, we see church as a clock in, clock out kind of thing. You know, week in, week out, you come, you do your thing, and then you go. But we're all one body. You know, it's not decentralized. We're actually very centralized. The church should be anyway.
Community,
Yeah, community.
But I think that's just step one, which is, yes, all of us should find a way to know. But I also do think, like, there are systems in place for people to give to the church. I think we should use part of that giving to also facilitate these needs and support these needs.
I think we need to encourage our churches to be transparent. I know a lot of churches are, well, some churches are transparent in how they spend their money, but as part of encouraging our church to use the funds to give, I think we need to know where the funds are actually going and what proportion is going to what. Because if actually majority is going towards making sure the lights are still on, that's not really what we should be using the money for. So just advocating for a culture of transparency in terms of finances, I think, is a big step as well.
And
Sorry to cut you
think
off.
about, like, if this, because there'll be people who, like, listening thinking, oh no, don't, you know, it's not your business, you can't say that, you know, you're not spiritually filled, you have to trust the leaders, which is all sound, definitely sound. But like, I'm just thinking about it from a completely practical perspective. Imagine if there was a church in an area and it was well known that anyone who goes to that church who has a need for hunger, food, your need will be met. one way or the other. If you go to that church, that's a church where no one is left hungry, no one is left behind. Flocks of people will come through.
yeah.
At the end of the
Oh,
day,
yes.
people have needs. People in this world have real needs, and that's the model Jesus used. Like, it wasn't presidents and queens and things that were coming to meet Jesus. It was the broken. It was the people that needed a healer. It was the hungry people. There's loads of people who have a need. If you actually make yourself known as the center, because this is what all churches want: growth. That's why they want this new building, right? To bring more people in. This is how you do it. This is how you show that actually this is a place that is for people. It's not just a building for coming together and singing songs and then going home. Actually, we care about people here. People have real needs. They might not come for Jesus at first. They'll come because they're hungry, but then they'll meet Jesus.
They'll meet
So
Jesus. Yeah.
this is actually something that we're not leveraging, a very practical tool. And a lot of churches would say, because I've received this when I've asked for, when I've had initiatives that I wanted to do, like there isn't enough and all that. I really do not believe that there is any single church, at least in the UK, that if they pooled all the resources, or if they averaged the resources of the people in the church, that they couldn't meet the food. Let's just talk about food poverty, because other people have other issues. In terms of just someone going hungry, I really cannot believe that there is a single church in the UK that, if we were doing this the right way, that they couldn't meet the needs based on just exactly what they have right now. They don't need any additional funding. They don't need any donations from anyone. If they would all just decide to, amongst themselves, redistribute the needs, I'm willing to bet anyone wants to tell me about their church and the reason why. I'm willing to bet £200. I'm saying it now.
Are you sure?
Yes. Come and tell me the reason why any church. I'm saying it to that camera.
Wait,
Willing to
sorry.
bet you any amount of money. Like
That what?
that, there is no single
That
church
they don't have funds to
that
meet
will not be able
hunger
to
needs.
feed
Right.
everyone in their congregation if everyone in their congregation
Was
had this
hungry.
had this mentality and heart change
Mm-hmm,
overnight. But listen,
So I guess the question is, obviously, where is, the resource being used? What is the focus? And, the reality is where we meet, cameras, everything it takes to run a church costs money, right? I'm not against, please hear me out. I'm just trying to give balance to this conversation, because these things cost money. So I guess maybe a church leader may be sitting somewhere and be like, but you don't know the salaries that I need to pay and the rent that I need to pay and, X, Y, and Z that I need to pay. And really and truly, there is nothing. What would you say to that church leader?
go on, Tally.
But you can ask, it's about the congregation too, though, isn't it? So, I mean, obviously, yes, the church, but if you ask everybody in the church, or just say, you know what, we're collecting bags of rice, I'm on this bag of rice and tin tomatoes thing. Can anyone buy a bag of rice? And we're going to split this bag of rice into two. And if anybody needs some rice or, just anything, people can, you might not be able to buy much, right? You might be tight, but actually within the church, whoever it's tight for, then they have something, because whoever it's not tight for would have bought something, or I don't know, just not only relying on, okay, I've given my tithe, the church needs to just spend it too, but we want people's hearts to also change.
Definitely.
So in order for your heart to change, you have to do something, because paying your tithes for some people is a religious act. I've paid it now, like I'm good. I'm good now. I'm in right standing with God. You haven't done anything that has caused for your heart to change, because for some people it's direct debit. They're not even thinking about it, I'm not saying that people who pay tithe are not but you get what I'm saying.
That's the reason I
you
set up a
need-
direct debit, so I don't have to think about it.
You don't think
If I
about it. It
think
just
about
goes.
it's
It
a
just
big
goes. You
one.
haven't done anything, but you believe that you've done something.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
haven't actually done the thing that God would most want you to do, which is to provide something, fill a need of somebody, right? So
But
I
some
think
people
the
may
reason.
feel like they're doing that in giving to a church. That's what they're expecting. But I do hear your
Yeah,
point.
but
That's
I
why
think
they
that
need to
it needs-
hold
they
the
need to
church
go
to more account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we can't be passive about this anymore. You
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
just be saying I'm going to a church and I'm giving to the church and that's doing kingdom work. If your church is not doing kingdom work, sorry, you're not doing kingdom work either. Like I think
Oh,
we,
damn.
I think we
That's
need
what
to
it is
start
though, isn't
being
it?
more like let's stop being blind followers. Like seriously, let's stop being. We're called to build a kingdom. If you're part of a community that's not building kingdom, better open your eyes and ask yourself some real questions
Yeah.
about whether you're contributing or not. And I'm gonna put my hand like this is not easy. Like I said, I think this is just a system issue. Like it's difficult to figure out how to do some of these things. I think a lot of churches, a lot of pastors, a lot of workers do want to do something, but like sometimes I think we overcomplicate it. Like I was thinking about this even for Eden Ideal. Like let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's do something. Let's not just talk. And I was thinking, what can we do? Like, do we need to set up something, or our monthly donations that we're all giving? Do we put a pot aside that's specifically for this? And I was just thinking, all of this is just. I think we need to just flip the system. And I just thought to myself, I waste food at home. So even in my own household, there is enough food. Like I have friends over for dinner every now and then, and we're able to feed them from what we have. Like, do you know what I'm saying? We can accommodate. So every Thursday, open invitation, my house, anyone. This is to the cameras. Open invitation.
This is the announcement.
This is the announcement.
This is the
No, seriously.
announcement.
Seriously, every Thursday.
Wow.
This is Thursday is my day to cook dinner. This is what I had to negotiate with my wife. So seriously though,
Is this
like,
would this be happening with Bible study as well? Is that?
no. I can only accommodate 1 or 2 people. We have a family. You're gonna come and join us at our dinner table. Like I'll put my number. Obviously, I'll verify who it is and all that. But like literally, if you're a student anywhere in London, you have to be local. If you're a homeless person, if you are a rich person that just needs a hot meal, and want to connect with someone, every Thursday, there's 1 or 2 places available at my dinner table. That's it. Simple. I don't need to change anything. I'm going to cook the same meal I was going to cook. I just make sure there's a little bit more. Simple. And we've done that. If we, as a team, all of us, committed to doing that for just our community, our Eden Ideal community, the people, our 66 subscribers, there is no way anyone, like, we could right now make a commitment that no one in the Eden Ideal community will go hungry, because we will invite you to dinner any night that you're ever hungry. We can commit right now to doing that. Done. No infrastructure needed. No central. Let's all donate to this. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think that's the model. That's Acts chapter 2. They all met with each other, ate bread together. They didn't make it complicated. They didn't set up charities. They didn't need charity numbers and all that kind of thing. And I know that everyone's like, oh, Tolu, anyone can come to your house. You've got 3 little children. That's the trust thing. That's the fear thing. And I was really thinking about that. But we're all afraid when it comes to coming and helping people. But when it's like Airbnb and you can make some money by inviting strangers into your house, bare man are on that. Because you're still inviting strangers into your house, but because you can make money from it, bare man are on that. It's the exact same thing. But when it comes to helping people, we start to have, oh, no. So open invitation.
Wow.
Simple. Let's see how that goes. I'm going to post this on my Nextdoor
Digest.
app in my local neighborhood, because I think it needs to be publicized for people to see. I don't know what God's going to use this for. I'm hoping that I can meet new people, engage with people, see how I can find out what's going on in my community. So this is how I'm going to try and connect with my neighbors in my community. I'm going to make some flyers, put it out there every Thursday. Anyone, for any reason, I'm not asking you why you're hungry. I'm just going to ask you who you are and that you're a human being or something. But like, come through, come have dinner. Why not? Could we all make that commitment?
I applaud that.
Well, what's stopping all of us from making that commitment? Seriously. No, seriously. I said I'd be putting everyone on a hot seat. I said it. I said it. It was like, yo,
looked at him like-
that is great for you. Oh man,
Wonderful.
No, what is stopping us from
I
doing
love that for you.
So wait. So caveat, this hasn't yet launched. My wife still needs me to consistently show that I will be able to cook the food on Thursdays. But once that's patented, then it's live. It's live. It's live. I just had to give that caveat, so I should make sure. But no, but
to come out like that.
But can I ask you guys though, just like what would be stop? What would be holding you back from being able to do something like that?
I'm not able to do that right now.
Why? You're moving houses, of course.
I also don't really. Okay, no. I was gonna say like I don't have a dining table and stuff like that, but people can sit on the sofa. But still, yeah, no, I'm not able to do
this
that
is
right now.
genuine.
I also don't really
No,
have
no,
the.
genuine question. Like, because I think these are the reasons why we all struggle. This is why people listening struggle to do this. Let's not hide or run away from the realities. Let's talk about them so that we can find ways to overcome them.
I mean, that's what you want to do.
No. So forget. Tadia, I hear you.
Not like that.
I
Sorry.
hear you.
That
I'm
came
just
out
trying,
wrong.
I'm trying to get to the root of, because the question you asked is what is stopping us Christians? What is stopping the church? So that I've put one to you guys now. So there's home. Tell us the things that are going through your mind right now. For this specific example, why would this not work for you? Because then those are the things that is stopping the church. These are the things that are stopping other Christians. So that's why it's a genuine question. It's not to kind of get you
I
guys.
think just at the moment, I'm not set up to do that right now. For like, I'm just not set up for that right now.
Because
But
you're
maybe
moving
in
homes.
yes.
Let's assume you're 3 months down the line, you're in your home, you're not moving homes. What would be stopping you then?
Just my space, I think. I think that would probably be
I'm
it.
the
For
same.
now, I think it would just be being comfortable with having somebody in my space that
Oh, come.
Come,
Come.
Dwayne.
Let's
something to
see.
say.
Let's see what
Come on,
Dwayne has to say.
Dwayne.
So basically, I'm
You're not on the
thinking,
camera.
yeah.
I
So
love
no,
this.
basically,
I'm
with
gonna
me, I
cut this
feel
out.
that it'll be more. If anybody needs a meal, call me. I can Uber you some food. I can do you some food. Do you know what I mean? I'm not at that spot where you are to be able to invite
You
you,
know
to
what?
my house.
But
But
I can pack it for you.
So
in
I
a
think,
to-go plate.
but guys, I think
I
this
think
is
I'm the same.
we're zeroing in on I think what the fundamental problem is, because this is
Yes.
why I said to you the issue isn't food, blah blah blah, money, blah blah blah. It's community. It's our willingness to trust each other and come together. That is the fundamental problem that I think we all need to be working on. Why don't we trust each? Why don't we want to get into community with each other? Why are we protecting our spaces? You know, I'm not trying to I'm not looking for an answer right now, but I really think that's something we should go away and think about and pray about, come back and talk about that. Because I don't think we solve this problem until we can overcome that.
But if you are willing to make a to-go plate for somebody, why is that not good enough for you for somebody? Why does
It's less personal, isn't it?
okay?
because
I mean, that's just a question.
I'm
I'm with
so-
both all of you.
No, Tanya, but because
I'm probably worse
because
than
Because I
that's
feel
the,
like you
No,
want
because
to make
Tanya-
us feel comfortable
because
with
that-
having a stranger in the house.
and the reason why
But
I
in an
say that.
ideal world, we would.
in an ideal world.
No,
Do
but
you know
wait,
what?
sorry,
I
can I
can't
just-
even
can I just
so
say,
much
wait, can I just,
true crime, and that's my
Tanya,
problem.
wait, Tanya, can I just say,
That is my
can I
issue.
just say, the thing that, the reason why
It's
this is
bad.
important is because, again, it'll come out in the interview that we had with Joanna, like, giving someone food is an emergency relief. That's not the thing that solves the problem. Like, that just gives them food for that evening. The thing that solves the problem is when people come
Many
together
people
from
come.
communities.
Mhm.
Like, for instance, if you are in, like, you know, sometimes a lot of the reason why certain whole communities find themselves in spirals of this kind of issues because they've never met someone that's not in that situation. Like, if they meet someone that's kind of different from them, that can tell them, actually, no, you don't need to be kind of doing that lifestyle. Actually, you could do something different. Or actually, I have this opportunity here. Or I know about this thing. Or I know about this service that you could go to. It's through community that people find out how to get themselves out of situation. So if we actually want to solve problems like food poverty, we've been donating billions of pounds of worth of food for decades, and it's not solved the problem. The thing that solves the problem is community, is people starting to actually get into close proximity with the poor. I know I'm putting everyone on blast here, but I really do think that if you want to have Jesus ethic, you have to be comfortable coming close.
I think
to
the
the
other
poor.
thing that I would say, just to your example, then is, I think as women is also very different to just
Then
invite
only
someone
open it
into
to
your
women.
house, even still.
I'm sorry, but invite women.
Do you know what? I think I don't really have a leg to stand on, because the point you made about you would do it for an Airbnb for money is hitting home. Is hitting home a lot, because really and truly, I don't know these people. I don't know you from Adam, but I know that, there's a signed contract and you're going to get this amount of money. You stay in my house for this period. I do provide you food. Like, the only difference with this is that there'll be I'm not expecting anything in return from this person. So that's really hitting home for me. I'm still processing. I'm not saying that I'm like, yep, Tolu, I'm there. I'm still processing, but it's really food for thought for me.
Do you know how many people have had issues in Ubers?
I wouldn't open my household and still be living there as a for what was it called, Airbnb, though. I wouldn't, because of the same issue. I'm just like, as in me being there and strangers being there, not necessarily yours. Funny enough, right? I wouldn't be so mad at what you were just talking about, right? Like, it feels a little bit more comfortable for me. I think it's because of the disparity of age and all those kinds of things, right? But I just think you say you use that example, and I still wouldn't. It doesn't make me, like, it didn't move me, because I wouldn't do that. Do you see what I'm saying? Even for me on that, I
Tanya,
just
even
wouldn't.
even if it was like, even if you managed to come up with a system where it was younger women that have been vetted by a charity, as an example. Maybe what I've just done is too open, but like, I'm just trying to, like, if we're saying the issue is security, let's see if we could minimize that security, because I think the part that I think we have to address is the unwillingness to have people in our space and in close proximity to us. I think that part, we can't do this if we're not willing to break that down. Like, I just don't see a way forward. So that's why. So I definitely get security issues. Sure. Yes. I think we blow them out of proportion and prevent us from helping so many people that would get help. But that's fine. I get it. I also appreciate women. You guys have a different kind of experience than me. So even if so let's assume, theoretically speaking, the security issues were met, because there are ways of dealing with that. You could only have people that have been vetted through charities where there is support available to you, blah, blah, blah. Would you guys still not be unwilling to open?
I think you also need to consider if that person is willing to come and connect and commune with you as well, because they may be in a situation where it's hard for them to even ask for help. It's hard for them to even like show face. So they may just want the help and be gone. They may not necessarily want to sit and talk and open up. Like, there's so many things to consider in this potential solution. But like I said, I do applaud, and I wasn't saying that to be sarcastic. I know it sounded that way, but I really wasn't saying it to be sarcastic. I do applaud, because I can see that you're actually trying to be practical and implement something that will like immediately solve.
Tell me what else? What would you guys do then to
I'll
solve this
probably
problem?
do the Uber thing that Dwayne said. I will send you food, or I'll send you money to get food.
Okay, no, I'm saying, like, because we want to make real change, right? Like, if you
Yeah, this is where I'm at.
so how would you practically make that happen? How can we practically make that happen?
I can
So let's try and
converse with you.
let's
and
try and set this up. then.
package
Let's-
food.
No,
for
I'm
people.
saying let's do it now. Can we do that?
I can commit to
So
that,
can we
yeah.
do that? Like, if we can come up with a system where all people need to do is send us their address and their
Would
what are we
wanna
doing?
do
What
that
are we
though?
saying here? This is what I'm saying. Like, what are we actually saying? I don't want to talk theoretically. I want to say the question you asked was, okay, you know, I've put you guys too much on the spot. We're not trying to give a solution now live, but I'm just trying to say, like, what is the thing that people can practically do that actually does start to address this issue?
So, if anyone, so hunger specifically is
Hunger
the problem that
specifically.
we're focusing on. So, if anyone is hungry, reach out to myself or reach out to Dwayne, as he's offered. you said, right? And we will help you. Yeah, we will help. Yeah, I can commit to that. I can actually commit to that.
Okay. Anyways, I think I'm happy because I can sense discomfort in this conversation, but I think we need to embrace this discomfort. We need to, because I think if we're gonna be able to, if we're gonna go talk to churches about this is the exact thing churches are gonna. If we're telling churches you're not doing what you need to do,
Yeah.
like this is what they'll be feeling as well when we come and tell them that. So I think it's important for us not to gloss over this or to kind of, because this is real. This is the real reason. I've never done this before. Like I'm a whole 32-year-old. I almost said 33, aging myself too quickly there. And I've never done this before. So it's not like I'm not trying to pretend as if I'm also in this. I'm trying to figure out how do we break these mentalities so
Yeah.
that we can start to live out God's Eden idea, and we finally listen to his voice. As he said, if my people will just listen to my voice, this will not be an issue.
Yeah.
There will not be any poor amongst you. So I really do think we need to circle back on this and really try and challenge ourselves. Because if we can unlock this, I really do think this is how we unlock freedom for so many people. How we can then go to churches and tell them, actually, this is what you can do. We've tried it and it works. I feel like that's a space we need to be getting into.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, time is fast spent, so we're gonna have to wrap up the conversation. But it's been really good. A very interesting and challenging conversation towards the end, but I think it's good that we're having these conversations and it's thought provoking, and hopefully it's going to kick us into gear to actually acting. So thank you very much for joining. Before we close out, just want to remind you of what we have coming up. On the 1st of April, we've got another True Worship event. We have partnered with the Bow Food Bank. We're going to be going out in the area of Bow, knocking on doors, collecting food donations, monetary donations to help feed families in the area. So if you'd like to join us, drop us a message at the Eden Ideal on Instagram and Twitter, EdenIdeal.com. If you want to come along, so we'll be coming in teams. I believe there is a prize for the team that raises the most donations.
No, it's the prize for the team that gets the bingo challenge first.
The bingo. Yes, so there is a bingo challenge. So we're going to aim to get all the items on that bingo list, and the team that does that first wins a prize, and the prize is
a free dinner for you and your team.
There you go.
Sponsored dinner.
What's the difference? Well, anyway,
Huge
okay.
difference.
Oh, okay.
We'll also be meeting to
1st of
worship. We
April.
haven't quite figured out how we're going to be meeting on that day to worship, but we will be meeting to worship, pray together, and then go out and do this.
Cool beans. So yeah, come along, get involved. What else is there to say? And yeah, if you want to be a part of what we're doing, you know, this year we're all about doing, we're about taking action, we're about really like walking the walk and not just talking the talk. So if that resonates with you and you want to join us, drop us a message. You can go on our website, www.theedenideal.com/join if you want to join, or speak to any one of us, speak to members of the team. We'd really want you to come along and, you know, support the cause and help us to help others.
If you have ideas as well, as you can
Yes.
see, we're freestyling here.
Yes.
If you have
But the
ideas,
more the merrier.
come and
Two
let
heads
us
are
know.
better than
Like,
one.
you know, let's get this going.
Definitely. And then last but not least, every Thursday we have our Bible studies, 8 to 10 p.m. That's the place where we can really get more interactive, ask the questions that you want to ask, like go to the Bible and get the answers in the Bible. So, you know, we're always limited on the podcast, but the Bible study is the place to really go deeper. So if you want to join that, again, drop us a message and we'll send you the Zoom link. And I think that's it.
Yes.
So,
Okay, so thank you for joining us
thank
Thank
you.
you.
for
Follow
another
us.
episode of the Eden Ideal, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time and on the 1st of April.
Yes.
Yes.
Deuces.
Bye.